Hi, everybody. Welcome to Politics NY with Steve with a tie for Schneps Media, which is the only media outlet providing a platform for every single New York City council candidate to have their voice heard and show their faces and personalities. We miss an occasional one. It's inadvertent. We never mean to do that. Tonight's debate is District 45, which is the seat is currently held by incumbent Farrell Lewis. It's in Brooklyn. It covers Flatbush, East Flatbush, Midwood, Marine Park, Flatlands, and Kensington. We also want to thank our partners, the Brooklyn Public Library, who are working with us to promote voter education and engagement for the 2021 local elections. Today's debate will be more like a discussion, and particularly I only have two of you here, which makes it fast and fun, although I know there are some serious issues having covered that district myself for many years, right? Every time you speak, please keep your responses short and sweet, although with two candidates, I'm not going to keep a timer. You know, if you go too long, I'm going to go, hey, you know, you're too long for me, right? But the Fast and Fun forum is being recorded, so you can watch it on PoliticsNY.com and see all of our debates scheduled and recordings on PoliticsNY.com/debates. So welcome Anthony Beckford and Cyril Joseph. And let me start with giving you each a minute or two to introduce yourself, why you're running, and a catchphrase, if you have one, for your campaign. And we will start in alphabetical order, which is last name first. Well, Anthony Beckford would probably get it, even though it's his first name. So we will start with Anthony Beckford.
You know, thank you, Steve. Thank you to BPL. Thank you, Politics NY and Schneps, for putting this together. It definitely is good to make sure that candidates' voices are heard, especially in this present day, with civic engagement. My name is Anthony Beckford. I am a single father. I'm a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. I'm a youth mentor. I'm a community advocate. I'm the president and co-founder of Black Lives Matter Brooklyn, the president of the Brooklyn chapter of Top Watch Patrol Unit, former UFT member, current freelancers union member, all around advocate within the community that's bringing the voice of the people into politics as well. I jumped into this race to represent the people. As many have seen through my work throughout the community since the age of 12 till now, my focus has always been selfless advocacy to make sure that the people are represented, to make sure that the voice of the silence are heard, to show that there can truly be unity within the community by bringing all voices together, and making sure that people are able to have a conversation, but also so that way there's accountability as well too, when it comes to whether it's ourselves, whether it's organizations, or even when it comes to elected officials as well. No fish is too big or too small for us to fry. It's about making sure that we, the people, get our voices and demands heard. And this is what many of my focuses have always been. It's just something that I teach my children. This is something that I teach others in the community, especially the youth, so that way they can be seen, they can be heard, and they can move forward in a positive manner. I've been an advocate, as I said, since I was 12 years old. I started off fighting against, fighting for education and against education inequities. That's when they were going to rezone my school district at the time, when I was at Beckford Junior High School, IS-232. And that, even though I didn't know what that meant at the age of 12, it still didn't sound right to me. And I found out after, but I still put out my speech. And I spoke in front of hundreds of parents and fellow students and community board members and even educational board members and school chancellor at the time. I didn't even know who he was at that time, and told them why I felt it was wrong for the rezoning to occur. The next day, that's when I was, basically showing the evidence that my voice meant a lot and can make change, because the school chancellor came down to our school for the first time, to see us, kids who were there, in our community, and explain to my peers that because of what I said the night before was why they did an emergency vote to stop the rezoning. Now as I'm older, my advocacy has taken a broader approach, still on education, but definitely when it comes to police accountability, when it comes to housing rights and housing justice for all, when it comes to political corruption, when it comes to, gang violence, gun violence, when it comes to, politics in general, but also just making sure that the people are heard, seen, and can actually move forward with the demands that they need, because the needs of the people are truly why we are public servants. And I'm willing to continue my service in the community, in City Hall, so that way we can bring a fierce voice that will not be bought, not be sold, and will not be compromised, to represent the 45th district, but to also pass much needed legislation in the city council in general.
Thank you. You have a catchphrase for your campaign.
Yes, I actually have two. One of them is "Together we can make a difference." You know, that's the whole unification process I was talking about. And another one is "It's our time," which is also our hashtag. Like Bernie had "Not me, us." You know, it's our time, so that way the people be galvanized, because it is time for a change. It is our time to actually make that change.
Thank you. And Mr. Joseph, Cyril Joseph.
Yes, sir.
Why are you running, and a catchphrase?
Thank you very much for inviting me and all those involved in having this forum together. My name is Cyril Joseph. I am a migrant. I came here in the early 60s as a migrant worker. I worked in South Florida and worked my way up all the way through New York, assisting migrants and people that's less fortunate than myself. I've been a community activist for over 20 years. I'm also a former community board member for the past 20-something years. I had the opportunity of serving on several subcommittees, which is including the Housing and Youth, the Youth and Education Committee, Civic and Religious, Economic Development, and Health and Hospital Committee. I am also a former county committee member for the Kings County Democratic Party, which I served 2 terms. I am currently a state legislative member for the state legislative party. I'm also a member of the National Democratic Caucus. My influence what influenced me mostly in running for city council as a legislature is after I walked through the streets of the 45th City Council District, and I had questionnaires asking the community what are the most important needs that they need. And I find, to me, is infrastructure and small businesses. You look at most of the businesses in this district is closing down. They're closed. We do not want to see closed doors. We want to see open businesses. Because bear in mind that small businesses is the most important thing that generates income to our district. And if they're closed, we do not have any business. So my aim and object is to work in conjunction with Small Business Administration to bring the necessary needs and goods and services that are needed to sustain the small business industry. The other thing I'm looking at is housing. They are talking about affordable housing. There is no such thing as affordable housing in this era. We should try to change the language or reform the language to sustainable housing. And that's what I'm going to do when I get in city council. My other thing is to open like a vocational training center. Because if we look at today, most of the jobs are coming high tech. And I don't know for Anthony if he's very good at this gadget with the high tech business, but we have to train people to get into high tech and give them permanent jobs, which will be high paying jobs, not just jobs for $10 or $15 an hour. We're talking about high paying jobs that a person could say, okay, I have a good paying job. I could afford to rent this house or that property. Another thing we got to look at is try and protect green space. The Parks Department and our district is letting our parks go down to the drains. I walked by two of the parks within this district. The one on Avenue N, which you should know very, Avenue N and Utica. And there's one on East 56 and Avenue D.
Is that
If we
Pat?
walk parks and look to see what they're doing, they're not doing anything. So my aim and object when I get into City Hall is to work in conjunction with my other city council members or my colleagues to bring the goods and services back to our district.
Thank you. Do you have a catchphrase? My
catchphrase is that together we work, we stand together, and we could unite.
Excellent. All right, so I'm going to just address in the room, the incumbent, Farrah Lewis, has decided not to show up for, she makes allegations against Mr. Beckford. And since she didn't show up, let's hear your side of the story. I'm not going to present her side. And do you two think she should show up regardless, and why?
To be really honest, I feel she should have showed up because this is not about us. It's really not about our campaigns to begin with. It's about the people. It's about the community. You know, the people deserve to hear from everybody. In regards to these false allegations and this portrayal of a victim that is being sought out by the incumbent so that we gain sympathy votes. This is nothing there's nothing new that we've seen in this community or any politics at all. You know, we've seen it through the last 4 years of the treacherous presidency that we've had in this country, how everything was, oh, this is happening to me, this is happening to me. And there's always a false narrative and so like that. And if anybody came against it, it was considered fake news. You know, but I'm going to lay out what they were. You know, so our campaign and I are being falsely accused of harassment of incumbent, of her mother, and of her sister, and of her campaign, of her staff workers, who are also her campaign workers, and so like that. But every incident that I've heard about so far has been false, because one thing about me, I'm very meticulous about record keeping and also about putting out the photos and videos of every interaction I have with anybody, would it be good, bad, or indifferent. So she brought up something in regards to her sister, Debbie Lewis, who claimed to be harassed at an incident, not even an incident, at a press conference. The Haitian community members were holding to hold community elected officials like Farrah Lewis and the elected in in District 40, which is Matthew Eugene, and also Adam Mizell, accountable for the lack of funding being brought to community organizations. In our district was $1.4 million gone out of district, as reported by the Haitian Times. When they brought this out, Debbie Lewis then, after the press conference, went and tried to attack one of the women organizers. We had a video of that. Okay, because we put out that video, that's when the victim card started being played. Then we started receiving attacks, threats, and so forth like that. But we let that be. We still put out the video to show that what was truthful, and we continued on with the campaign, ran our race, continued to engage with the community. The next incident was the fact of multiple of our posters have been torn down off of storefronts, off of, even off of our door, off of minivans, out of stores itself, and we have store owners who have literally said, hey, they're doing this and trying to stop them. But yet we're getting attacked and accused of doing that when literally everybody sees what my campaign is doing, because we video record every single thing that we do on live, so that way everybody sees the engagement. The next thing was that the harassment of the mother, which I've never met Farrah Lewis's mother a day in my life. What ended up happening was that the other day, her mother came banging on my office door. I didn't know it was her mother at the time. I thought it was constituent, but we have been doing constituent services here. And I open the door and the woman starts coming out with a barrage of insults against me while my 9-year-old daughter is here and 3 of my staff members are here. And I kindly asked her, can you please stop with this type of language because my child is here. She then walks off and with her, you know, having another tirade and so like that. So then I said, no, let me take a picture to document what this happened. Took the picture of her going to Councilmember Lewis's office of the vehicle that she was a passenger in, but also we got word from the from one of the business owners in the district, which literally is like a few feet away from us. He said that it was her mother who went in that day after that, the threat and the harassment of us, and tore down our posters from his business. The next thing that she accused us of was harassing her workers because what they said, that how my campaign staff was putting in literature into the food boxes, which was a lie. Community members were out there, many other organizations that we know and advocates were out there as well too. They all know and can contest to the fact of that my campaign workers actually went and gave the people on the junction.
Okay, I don't want a total blow by blow, Anthony,
right.
but I wanted to get your say because Farrell wasn't here, and I just wanted to give your say. So
no, definitely. You know, but definitely, you know, for the truth to be out there, I definitely feel like, you know, the people need to hear the truth instead of this desperate plea or attempt, you know, right now. But
right,
the factor of that.
Issues. And Cyril, do you have? Let's talk about the issues. Let's move on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but
Cyril,
so basically, so I just want to say, you know, that all these accusations are definitely false, and people could go on our campaign page on Facebook and on my personal campaign page, see videos and photos of every single incident that we have documented out there.
Thank you. Cyril, do you think the incumbent should be here? I mean, do you feel the incumbent has been on the job or?
Yes, I strongly feel incumbent should be here at the debate. Number one, because when the incumbent ran in the special election, she ran to represent the entire district, to take over from where Jimani Williams left off. She went out on campaign, knock everybody's door, make all that noise, tell people what she's going to do for them, how she's going to do it. And I think as a legislator, she's the honorable. She's not just Farrell Lewis, she's the honorable. She should honor that title, the Honorable Council Member Louis Farrell Lewis, to ask questions and face people and tell people why is it that the promises that she made during her campaign in the special election are not being kept. Why is it that when people come into her office, because if you're a legislature, your office, you are the servant of your constituent, you are hired by them. And your office becomes available to anyone within the district that need to speak to you or bring a complaint to you. Why is it that you are running and we cannot find you?
I see.
Your constituent making appointments, they can find you. So I think that we should hold Council Member Farah foot to the ground or to the fire to request that she be present at these type of forums, because that's the only way we could know what's going on. As for this mudslinging, and I don't want to get into that.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's totally disrespectful for a candidate not to show up for the benefit of her constituents.
Thank you, Cyril. And I appreciate both your opinion. We're joined by Lou Cepetis. If you can show your video, I don't know. Lou, you could speak if you're there. I see he's here. You have to unmute yourself. I don't know, Lou, if you're figuring it out, and also the video. But let's talk about the issues, and let's start with Mr. Joseph first. If elected, what would be the #1 priority that you would work for? And excuse me, Lou,
the issue on housing. We need a lot of housing, not affordable, sustainable housing within our district. We need to hold the builders or the contractors to a higher standard. Don't tell me that you're going to build all these housing apartments and giving the district 25% of what you build. It is not fair to us. It's not right. So housing is my number one priority I'm going to concentrate on.
Thank you. And Mr. Beckford, your number one priority, if elected, the first thing you're going to like, this is what I got to do.
I agree with Cyril. It's definitely housing. They keep on putting this narrative of affordable housing, but as we say in the housing movement, affordable for whom? Not for those of us in the community. Putting out 30% of the apartments and saying that it's affordable, yet you're asking for an income that is not reflective of the people in the community is very unjust. Which is why I'm happy to be endorsed by many housing advocacy groups like Tenant Back, NYC, NIPAN, and many others, because of the fact of my dedication to fight for fair, just, safe, and secure housing, and not just housing in regards to apartments, but making sure that our homeowners are kept within their homes, and making sure that NYCHA tenants are safe and are able to be able to stay within their apartments as well. My first thing will make sure that we put the rent guidelines board feet to the fire, because many opportunities they've had opportunity to pass, guidance to do a rent rollback. But instead of doing that, what they end up doing is keep on putting a rent freeze, or they keep on just saying, okay, we're gonna end up extending it only a certain percentage. People still cannot afford that. We should not have to choose between living at home, having a roof over our head, putting food on our table, or being able to go out there and actually pay this high transportation costs as well. I'm pushing for rent rollbacks. New York has not had a rent rollback since 1971. I'm pushing for property tax rollbacks, so that way property owners no longer have to pay these high property taxes because of these Goliath buildings that are built in our community, and they get 10-year property tax abatement. Yet it's rolled over to the homeowners who have to keep paying this on a yearly basis as it increases. And the property tax rollback will go back to the purchase value of your home. And then also to fully fund and fix NYCHA, which means that I'm willing to work as a city council together with my state electeds and our federal electeds to make sure that we get the adequate funding that's needed for NYCHA, to get the repairs that are needed for our NYCHA tenants, and to make sure that we're able to have more maintenance staff and pay them a livable wage, so that way they can fully clean and repair NYCHA as well too. But make sure those jobs are done locally. They're hired locally through youth programs and also through the adults that live in NYCHA as well. And the next thing that I want to push in regards to housing is making sure that when it comes to deed theft, we tackle that, stop the tax lien sales, and hold landlords who have been, causing illegal eviction, these corporate landlords who have these high-rise buildings, hold them accountable to the fullest degree. Not just say we're going to do it, and not just call them bad actors and we do nothing about it, but actually make sure that we hold them accountable, not just with fines, not just with violations, so like that, but it comes to the point where we need to return a lot of this housing back to the community. There's a lot of vacancy apartments out there, and we need to implement on a state level and a local level a vacancy tax, so that way they can stop warehousing these apartments.
Thank you. Just real quick, yes or no? Do you rent or own?
I rent.
Oh, Anthony rents. Cyril, do you rent or own where you live?
I rent.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is there is a lot of single and two-family homes in the district. They're not all renters. Property taxes are high. Water bills are going up. How do you plan to represent the homeowners in your district and some of their concerns? And we'll start with Mr. Cyril again. I just want to go back and forth a little bit.
I would.
Mr. Joseph, sorry.
Yes. I would approach this homeowners issue with a very, very, very strict thing. Because number one, when you're a homeowner in New York, you do not own that home. They might say you own the home, but you don't own the home. The taxes are too high for homeowners. You cannot do anything to your house if you don't go through a bunch of red tapes. Give them a tax abatement.
So you would go for that. Good.
Yes, definitely. And stop this nonsense of talking about predatory lending. That you could borrow money from your house and you don't have to pay all this nonsense back. This is a bunch of baloney. We need to cut that crap out. Because if you go out of New York State, the same square footage of a house that you have for a homeowner in New York, and the taxes that a New Yorker is paying, you go right next to New Jersey or Connecticut. It is far different. And you have what you call a home. Over here in New York, you have a house. So that's not homeowner, that's house owners. Because you only own the house, the 4 blocks of the house, but the property, you do not own it. So I would work to craft legislation to change that language and take out the stress on property owners, home owners, and give them a little bit more agility. Come on, we got to ease up a little bit.
And Mr. Beckford.
Definitely, as I stated in the last question, we definitely want to, I definitely am working to implement property tax rollbacks for homeowners. You know, I've gone up there and talked to many homeowners out there. My grandmother, rest her soul, you know, with the homeowner as well. You know, and I've seen what, you know, the high property taxes have done to homeowners. I've seen what it's done to our community. You know, I've seen the fact that, you know, many predatory developers, they look for this opportunity of the high property taxes to say, yes, we could get you out of this situation here, but no, we need to save our homeowners. We need to make sure that they have a voice as well too. We need to unite a housing fight with tenants and homeowners together, because it is a serious issue against both right now. Like I said, I want to implement, the fact that, we need property tax rollbacks. Like I said, the property tax will basically be rolled back to the purchase value, so that the first tax they ever paid when they purchased their home, and also, decrease the water cost bills. I've seen a couple of these bills, and it's ridiculous. You would swear that some of these homeowners had a swimming pool by the way they're being charged. But then when you look at other communities, you notice that there's disparities in the cost of having water to your home. Another thing that I would actually work on too with the homeowners, and I've seen this last summer and a few summers ago as well too, where there's damage in the street in front of the home, and the city, and it's usually caused by the city's negligence, and the city charging these homeowners $10,000 to $15,000, sometimes it's $30,000 to get it fixed. That is not just at all. That bill should not be flipped over to the homeowner. The city needs to take its responsibility for the damages caused from the lack of maintaining the infrastructure in our communities as well. And that's one thing I've talked to a lot of homeowners about, and I'm willing to push forward as well. The next thing is to push for the state to hurry up and pass the cease and desist for our community that many are carrying in the Senate right now, so that way these developers can stop harassing our homeowners. Right now, I'm actually working with a couple of homeowners who've had their properties. They were victims of deed theft. I've seen a lot of reports about XI in regards to deed theft, but deed theft has been running very rampant here in the 45th district. We need to address that. We need to address the fact that the tax lien sales that are purposely being used to target our homeowners out here so developers can have their way. We're going to get rid of the tax lien sales. I'm in a coalition with many other candidates throughout many other districts throughout New York City, and we built amongst ourselves to be able to have the voting power needed to make sure that everybody's represented and we pass these pieces of legislation. And the next thing would be, which another case I'm dealing with, is the predatory lending from certain banks, especially Immigrant Bank, that we're actually doing an action against very soon, who was just found guilty of the racist redlining that's supposed to be illegal federally, and also doing predatory lending, to mainly Black homeowners and Black property owners. we're about to take back what has been stolen for us. We're about to make sure that the voices of these homeowners are heard the same way the voices of the tenants are being heard. And we're going to show true representation within my campaign and through my representing the 45th district on June 22nd.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Speaking of home ownership, just yes or no, there's a bill, there was a sample bill that will allow the conversion of basements into apartments, which would help with the mortgage. Do you agree with that? The idea of a fast track conversion of basements into apartments for homeowners for extra income and to alleviate the housing crisis. Mr. Joseph.
I would not support, I would support it to a certain point, is based upon the level of the basement apartments. Because bear in mind, we have basements who are underground level, below ground level. There is no means of egress to and from basements at below ground level. So I would not be in favor of that, because it's not proper ventilation. Now, if you have a basement apartment that's above the ground level, then yes, I support that. But one thing we got to look at again is where these basements are, because there's a problem with the sewer. If it just sprinkle a little bit of rain, the entire basement is flooded. We got to take that into consideration. So we got to be very, very, very skeptical or very careful how we're going to say we're going to support basement occupancy from not supporting. So we have to be very, very careful and do a very good survey and see what is the best interest for these for the basement occupancy.
Thank you.
So that's a catch-22 question.
Mr. Beckford.
I don't know. I feel a little bit different, because if it wasn't for a basement apartment, my mother and I would have still been in the shelter, when we were homeless, when I was at the age of 2 weeks old. So it was just so happened that a friend of my grandmother's was able to, who had a basement available. And we lived in that basement as an apartment from the time I was 2 weeks old to basically about when I was about 7 years old, 6, 7 years old, before we moved to an apartment building. That literally saved our lives. That brought a sense of relief to my mother, because let's be honest, the shelters are still dangerous. I'd rather there be more housing available, and also for homeowners to have an extra income to be able to pay many of these costs that they have to take on as well, too, especially our senior homeowners. So when the conversion prototype first was going out, I believe it was in East New York. East New York was the prototype for it. I fully supported it, and I would continue supporting it.
May I ask a follow-up question to Mr. Bedford, please?
Yes,
you said that you was living in the basement. The basement that you was living in, was it below ground level or above ground level?
It was below ground level.
Now that's illegal. If you have egress in and out or window, we could get proper ventilation, yes. Ventilation, yes, I agree with that. But if you have a basement or basements below ground level, there is no proper ventilation coming in. I totally against it, because you might not realize it, but it's putting the entire family, health and their life in jeopardy. That's what I'm talking about. The ones that below ground level.
For full disclosure, I had Kings County politics before this, and I was paying some, issues. I was in a basement apartment for like years, and it might have been illegal, but they made it kind of nice. And that's why I asked it, because there are homeowners that are having trouble paying their mortgage. And there's a city, a law right now where they're going to bring in inspectors and help people make it, even if it's below ground, they'll bring in the building inspectors and everybody. So it will be fireproof and and where we'll make it up the code. And
And just to clarify, with the below level that we had at the time, it did have ventilation, because we did have a window, because it was connected to the backyard. So we had the backyard door. We did have 2 windows. Then also they also built a secondary ventilation system, you know, in the bathroom area as well too. So yes, it does have to be safe. I agree with Cyril. It has to be safe.
Yes,
you know, but then that's why, as Steve stated, you know, with the inspectors coming in, that's how these homeowners will be able to make it safer. And as Steve also mentioned, that's how they'll be able to, take on these costs that has been drowning them for all these years now.
You see, what I'm totally against with the below, because I hear you talking about you had a window that you could get ventilation, so that's not below ground level. And I heard Steve said very thing. What I'm against is that basements that they are below the street level. You have no way of even putting a small 2x4 window in there. That's what I'm against. But if there's a place where you could put like a window that the person could get a little bit of air coming in.
Get out if there was a fire or something.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I just, that was kind of an interesting discussion. All right, and I want to get into business, and this is something that I'm going to direct for you, Anthony. The district, it's a large Caribbean district and Black American or African American district as well, mainly Caribbean. But there's also a large Islamic and Orthodox Jewish component to the district. And Anthony, as the Black Lives Matter president, it recently came out that they are totally on the side of the Palestinians. Is that your view personally? Is that, as a city council member, you don't deal with international issues. However, you're going to represent a large Muslim and Jewish community.
Definitely. And, one thing I've always made clear, is the fact of any injustice anywhere, has to be addressed, because it does affect, even though it may be international, what's going on with the conflict, it's still affecting those here, within our community. Same way you'll have some Jewish community members, and I've seen it, who are pro-Palestine. And then, and then you have some who are not pro-Palestine and pro-Israel. But at the end of the day, it's about what is right and what is wrong when it comes to violations of human rights. If we're going to call out governments, and people themselves, like individual people themselves, should not take that personal, because there are many people who would cater to the dangerous right-wing ideology in many countries. We've seen it here. We've seen, senseless shootings. We've seen people getting run over by cars. We've seen insurrection on January 6th. We don't need to see this worldwide. And the fact that what's happening in this country has literally been a stage and an amplification for others to enact, oppression and violation of rights. And I stand fully against that. The Forward, Israeli Times, and many other Jewish publications back in 2019, had me, and even those in Israel, had me on their front page because I fought against anti-Semitism. Wrong is wrong, and I will continue fighting against injustice, whether it's being anti-Muslim, whether it's being anti-Palestinian, whether it's being anti-Semitic, anti-Black, or anti-Asian.
What about anti-Israel?
Israel.
Anti-Israel? Are you for the state of Israel?
I'm not for the Netanyahu government at all. I'm not for the Netanyahu government. Netanyahu has been running amok as Donald Trump has been running amok. I believe that both sides can actually exist in peace if there aren't those who want to go out there and try to use their bias and bigotry to try to divide the people further. I truly feel that Netanyahu has taken advantage. It has done a lot of violations of human rights. As we've seen in Israel, there are many people in Israel who have spoken out against him, continue to speak out against him, who are Jewish, who are Israelis from birth. Matter of fact, they've even tried to oust him at one point in time for human rights violations.
But you also represent a big portion of the district that's very pro-Israel.
And I'm always happy to have that conversation with them, as I've had online with many of them, and I've talked to many rabbis and also community leaders within the Jewish community as well too. And we can disagree on many things, but that's what makes us human. We can disagree on things, but still have a sense of peace amongst each other, still have professionalism amongst each other. Many of us have kept that dialogue open like that.
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep because it's not really a city issue, but because the district is so diverse, I felt it was important to bring this up.
Oh, no, definitely understandable. Like I converse with our Jewish community members on a consistent basis. I've had, even on our phone banking, I've had Jewish community members ask me in regards to the conflict. You know, I told them, you know, I don't agree with any type of human rights violations at all. I feel that if there's anybody in power that is committing this and condoning it and pushing it and amplifying it, that they need to be held accountable and stuff like that. You know, because like I said, there's many people in Israel who are against what the Israeli government itself is doing, you know. And as I stated the other day too, you know, what's going on in Israel is not the just cause for any type of anti-Semitism. Same way that there's no just cause for being anti-Black or anti-Muslim or anti-Palestinian. You know, we've had a council member who said 2 years ago that Palestine does not exist. That was disgusting. You know, stuff like that has to be held accountable. You know, we've had it.
I respectfully disagree, but it's not about that. But I just thought I'd mention it because it is a diverse district. Mr. Joseph, how do you plan on bridging this gap of diversity within the district? Hello, Mr. Joseph.
Oh, I was asking him a follow-up question.
No, I wanted to ask you because it's a very diverse district. There's a lot of Muslims and a lot of Jews.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I am going to work, and I've demonstrated I'm going to work with the Jewish community, Israel, because number one, my communication director happened to be a Jew. Amy Klein. My immigration czar is from Israel.
From where?
That's a Jew. From Israel. That's a Jew. So we are working because the same thing the Jews are going through now. We Black folks went through it in a long time ago. So we are working together as one community, because regardless to how you put it, whatever the Jews and the Palestinians do over there, we are going to work to respect the rights of both sides. That's the way I see it. Now, talking about we do not like what BB is doing. What BB is doing might not be good, but BB is not here. We have people over here that's doing doggone well good. So we got to be very, very skeptical how we trot on this line, not to be too against or push our nose where it don't belong to. We got to be the moderator and the peacemaker between these two states. All of them supposed to be existing and have the rights to do what they want to do and live in unity as one. That's the only way we could do it.
Very good. And I'll keep going with Mr. Joseph on this. The pandemic's ending and we're talking about recovery in the city, but what about within your district? There's restaurants, there's a lot of restaurants, a lot of Caribbean restaurants that I personally ate at in the district. There's a lot of businesses, they've been hurting. Do you have any plans to, as a city councilman, what would be your plans to help foster local economic activity and recovery in post-COVID?
My plan for post-COVID recovery for the businesses is to get straight and be firm with the federal and state government. Do not send mixed messages to the people. You must send a direct message and give them incentive, give them some more discretionary funding, cut out the red tape that we have going through with expanding small businesses, and let them operate, let them get something. We must support them. The idea of the wearing masks, this and that, we have to be straight with them. If you take the Visine or the injections, if you want them to take injection and wear the mask, let them know that. If you're going to extend the hours, let them know how you're going to extend the hours. But don't tell them if you take the Visine, you could wear a mask this place, but when you come another place, you cannot wear it. That's a mixed signal that is sending. So we got to be straight and honest, be truthful with these folks. I'm there to uplift small businesses, regardless to where. The same way it works in Illinois, we could bring it down here. We could implement the Small Business Act right here in Brooklyn. And I plan to implement the Small Business Act that happened in Illinois right here in District 45 to show them a model of how business is going to run or how it could be run to help everybody.
Very good. Mr. Beckford, how do you plan on helping small business in the district in the recovery?
Definitely. Thank you for that question, Steve. You know, small businesses are the backbone of the community. They are the gears for the economy. You know, we have to be very honest about that. Without small businesses, there is no economy. You know, and we've seen that clear. Many of the small businesses I've been helping along the way in regards to making sure they can get their PPP loans, you know, because most of them said that they've been, you know, trying to get assistance with it, local, you know, through local electeds, and have come to no type of or any type of answers or solutions for it. Where we've been working along with the Brooklyn Chambers of Commerce. We've had a couple of, had one of the outreach workers come out, also a couple of the businesses, you know, show them how to fill out the forms, you know, how to, you know, get approval, what to look out for, and also grants that are available to them as well too. And I plan to continue doing that, but also move to implement, bring more grants to the city, and also work with nonprofit organizations to help out with many of these grants, so that way we can bring more funding to the businesses, so that way we can help these businesses and bring a true recovery to them. And yes, like Cyril said, like, oh no, we're going to hold our federal counterparts, you know, feet to the fire to make sure that they pass a true relief for our small businesses. Our small businesses have been left out there hanging. You know, they weren't provided the PPEs that they needed. Giving them a 2-gallon jug of hand sanitizer does not keep them open. It does not keep them safe. You know, myself and my campaign, even during the pandemic, you know, we were out there despite the risk to our health, because I ended up catching COVID as well too, but despite the risk to our health, we were out there going to our small businesses, asking them what their needs were, providing them with the much needed PPE that they needed. We were advertising these businesses and pushing them out to the community members, saying, hey, shop locally, you know, come here, you know, don't just go to the big chain stores like Walmart and Target, even though it's convenient for a lot of people who cannot leave home, but also, you know, come out to some of these businesses or do delivery through them. We've also taught some of the businesses how to use the POS system so that way they can get on different platforms so people can order from them. You know, and we've seen a rise in it. There's organizations like Little Caribbean in our district that needs the funding so that way they could continue the walkthroughs of the restaurants, so that way they could do the restaurant walks and the pop-ups as well too, so that way the businesses have more options to be able to get more business in. You know, we also need to do a business day. Same way we used to do career day at school, we need to do a business day to where these businesses can set up shop in the streets as well too. Because when we see with the open streets, we see the disparities in that as well. In Manhattan, many of the restaurants and small businesses out there, you know, received, you know, access to have the open streets. Out here in Brooklyn, especially in the 45th district, reality was a lot of them did not gain that privilege. You know, a lot of them were hurting in regards to it. You know, a lot of them, I even tried to, you know, I've had to contact various council members to try to find out what can we do. Contact the Department of Buildings and the mayor's office, say, I need help. And I'm happy that some help was provided to help some of these businesses to be able to do this, have outdoor dining so that way they can extend and, you know, gain profit and also keep their workers employed. You know, we have to look at the fact of small businesses are not just about the business owners, they're also about, you know, they're also about the employees that work for these businesses as well. You know, so we have to make sure everybody's protected, everybody is taken care of. Another thing that I would do is to make sure that we provide an approach for any disaster that may happen, any type of pandemic may happen, to where we prioritize the businesses in our city instead of leaving them as the last, you know, the last approach. You know, we have to prioritize the business. And with Cyril, I do agree. We need to pass Small Business Job Survival Act as well in the city. That bill has been in the city council for a while and has never made it out of the committee. My vow and my wish and my promise is to move that out of the committee so that way we can save our businesses. We can give them a 10-year lease. We can't, and what I also want to add to it is the right to own as well too with their storefront.
Thank you. And I want a quick answer on this one, if you can do it. What was the last 2 or 3 businesses in your district you went to? A restaurant, like you know, it could be let's start with Anthony.
McBean's restaurant is located on Glenwood and Flatbush. You know, the breakfast is good with the ackee and saltfish, but also the jerk chicken is good. Lord's Bakery, that's been in the community for years. I still get my birthday cakes from there, you know, but Lord's Bakery also had to shut down and they took a hurt. You know, that was the last one because we had to celebrate some 2 of my volunteers' birthday, and plus I had to go get my current rolls as well. And Queen Bee's Tavern, which is the longest black woman owned establishment in our district, and even in near our district as well too. You know, that's on Church Avenue. That's on Church between Nostrand and 31st. You know, so that's where I used to do all my karaoke before the pandemic hit. And
Cyril, what 3 businesses have you frequented of late?
You talking about business to eat or business for?
Could be either. Could be a hardware store, you know. Huh?
Okay, we're talking about eating places. I've been to 3 halal restaurants, and that's my favorite.
What's the name of it?
The halal
Halal.
restaurants.
Okay.
Halal. Conrad's Bakery.
Where's that?
That's right at the corner of Church Avenue and East 50th Street.
Okay.
I've been to the jerk chicken, the Jamaican jerk chicken on Avenue D and Foster. That is my favorite place again. So, I mean, I'm out there.
If you need to buy a screwdriver or a pliers, like a piece of hardware local, where would you go?
To a local hardware store. I have so many different hardware stores. A black hardware store owned by the Jamaican guy right across the street from my office on East 53rd.
Huh. That's cool. And where would you go for a piece of, if you need a screwdriver real quick to put in a picture frame or something?
Same way. I definitely know where Cyril is talking about with that hardware store there. In fact, I'm on this side of town. There's one that's on the corner, also Jamaican owned, on East 26 in Flatbush. Been there since before I was born.
They make keys too?
They still make keys.
Yes.
In fact, they helped cut the lock the other day because our gate got stuck.
Hardware stores do everything. I love hardware stores. Everybody talks of restaurants. A good local hardware store is always good.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we're moving kind of to the final segment. So tell me 2 things: why someone should vote for you, and what your superpower is. What's your superpower? that will get you there. And let us start with Cyril first.
I am asking people, beseeching to people to vote for me because my experience as a member of community board, which deals with all type of aspects from housing, economic development, civic and religious, the clergy council, name it, I have the experience. Experience I have again is as an elected county committee member, which advocate and represent a 4-block radius. You walk the walk, you walk the beat, you hear the cries of your district need, and you bring it to your city council member, which I have done, and hold their foot in the fire to get action. As a state Democratic committee member, I have the option of going twice a year to different parts of New York State to listen in and get experience of when funding or whatever is coming through the pipeline from Washington to Albany and from Albany to City Council. So I know how the process is worked and how it is working, and I have walked my district, I have knocked on doors, I have seen the needs of my district constituent, which have not been met. So I am the one that's not a politician, a community activist that will make sure that your needs or your cries are heard and answered to 100%, because I'm going there at the bottom of the pyramid. And when you come into my office with a problem, I want you to come out at the top of the pyramid that you are fully contented, not for just you, but for your children, your grandchildren. And the word going to go along that when I come into City Hall and the 45th City Council District, that they could say, yes, job well done.
And your superpower? Do you have a superpower?
My superpower is give me grace and give me thanks from the Lord Jesus Christ to fulfill the needs of my constituents. Because my superpower is my people.
Thank you.
If I could have my people be satisfied, be contented with the services and the goods I'm giving them, that's my superpower.
Excellent. And Anthony, Mr. Beckford.
That's definitely, I feel that the people should vote for me June 22nd, but also from June 12th to June 20th for the early election because of the long-standing service I've had in the community. I stated earlier that I've been an advocate since the age of 12 years old. I've been able to make change happen from then and even until now. Many of the bills that have been going through council, we have to be, face reality that it's been a lot of us that are boots on the ground on the front lines of the issues have been the ones that have been pushing council members to actually pass these bills, to even introduce these bills, and even write these bills. A lot of them will make it seem as if this came out of there, but it's many of us advocates who have actually said, no, this is the changes that are needed. It's what the people are demanding. I've been one of them on a consistent basis, selflessly, not looking for an opportunity, not looking for any type of kickbacks, not looking for any type of favors. And this is the type of council member that I will be, the same type of advocate that I am today, to be able to say no when no needs to be said, to not be compromised, to not take on special interests, to not be bought or do backdoor deals, to be fully transparent with the people as I've always been. But another thing is that my full open door policy. Literally, we have a full open door policy where our doors stay open so that way you don't have to go and open it for the people and say, come in. They know they could just walk in. They know that they're accepted. We don't have that anymore when it comes to politicians. But this is why the people elected us, so they can tell us the issues that they're going through. Right now, as y'all were talking, I'm looking at my phone. I literally just received 12 emails in the past 30 minutes of issues that are in the surrounding community. This is the type of advocate I am and the type of council member I will continue to be once elected into office. You know, my need is not just a need of self. My need is a need of the community. When my community struggles, I struggle. My community is impoverished. I'm impoverished as well too. I didn't grow up, you know, with a silver spoon in my mouth. I grew up with many of these people within our communities now who are teachers, who are bus drivers, you know, who are nannies and so forth like that. But yes, Steve.
You need your superpower, and
yeah, you know, but my superpower will continue to be my advocacy. You know, the people do not need a politician; they need an advocate. They need somebody who's willing to make their voices heard and willing to bring them to the table. And if nobody wants to bring to the table, willing to create a table for them to make sure that they have decision making powers within the district as well too. You know, so that's what my superpower would be.
thank you both very much. You've been
Thank you
watching
for having me.
Politics NY with Steve with a Tie. It's a division of Schneps Media. It's the only media outlet providing a platform for every single New York City Council candidate to have their voice heard and show their faces and personalities. This is District 45, which is covers Flatbush, East Flatbush, Midwood, Marine Park, Flatlands, and Kensington. We also want to thank our partners at Brooklyn Public Library who are working with us to promote voter education engagement for the 2021 local elections. And you can watch this debate and all debates that we've done on politicsny.com and see all of our debates scheduled and recordings on politicsny.com/debates. Thank you and best of luck to both of you. God bless you.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and I sure appreciate the opportunity to bring my views out to the constituent. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Always a pleasure.